Hello, my friend. Welcome back to the Mindset Check podcast. I'm your host, Misha McKittrick. This is a podcast where we believe that as you take time for a mindset check, you have more power than you think you do. And where we also believe that the way you answer the phone can be an incredible gift. I'm so excited to create space for you to ponder this topic today. And since we're doing just a mini mindset check, let's get right into it. Hey, I want you to think for a moment what it sounds like when you answer the phone. Hello? Yo. What's up? Yellow. I'm just kidding on that last one, unless if you are my sister and I'm messing with you. So I'm sure that the answer to that question for you, just the same it is for me, is it kind of depends on who's calling. If you're unsure of who it is that's on the phone, if you're answering your phone for your child, if you're feeling urgent and you know it's the call you've been waiting for, etc., right? But what really stinks in life is if you have ever felt like you needed to convey that life sucks simply by the way that you answer the phone. Okay, so the phone rings again. Hey. Right? Like, ooh, the energy just went down. And sometimes we do it without realizing it. Like we're matching the person's energy that we know we're going to be talking to, but we're matching it in a negative way. Maybe we think we're being empathetic, or we have this automatic way of responding to the way that we know their energy is. And again, the role can be reversed. It's not necessarily just the way that we are answering the phone based on somebody else that might have low energy, and then we're answering the phone the way that they, we know they're going to meet us, right? I mean, just let the conversation kind of take you where it fits for you, right? But it is so interesting to me that sometimes we answer the phone anticipating the way that we think the other person is feeling, and it doesn't even give them the space to kind of be something different. Like, kind of let that kind of sit in for just a moment, because I really want to dive into this awakening of emotional leadership, this role that we can play in our life. Because there was a time when my husband and I, we were going through it. We were in the thick of it. My husband especially was experiencing a lot of depression and anxiety. And, I didn't realize completely that I was doing this. I was matching his energy. Like, I would be feeling great, and then the phone would ring and it's him, and my empathy kicks in, and I'm like, I don't know if there's just a part of me that didn't want to answer the phone, like, hey, sunshine and flowers, here we go. You know what I mean? Like, it is a kind thing to understand that sometimes our big, beautiful energy can feel off-putting to others, right? There was a time when I had a really close friend who went through, I'm not even kidding you, she had a terrible accident. She died on the scene. She broke her neck. There was so much hospitalization and rehab afterwards. I mean, the girl was in the depths. And it was that point in my life where I started asking other people, for advice about how to interact. And one of the pieces of advice that stuck with me was, don't say, how are you? Because sometimes we say it and we're just like, how you doing? How are things? What's up? And sometimes when someone's really, really low, the check-in to how are you doing only becomes, what you're asking me for, all I can do is lie to you right now. Like, it's different when we're like, how are you? How have you been? And when we're really in a space where we're holding space, and that's not typically when it's the second thing that's being said on a phone call. I mean, it is very good to call someone that you love and say, hello, and how are things? How are you doing? That's good. But when you know someone is in some serious mud, maybe the first thing that you say shouldn't be, how are you doing? And that was a wake-up call for me. And so I thought that this would be so fun because I was also talking to one of my clients and we were talking about how sometimes we meet the energy of another person with what's happening in the relationship instead of what's possible in the relationship. Right? And so we automatically go low and say, hey, you know, and it is so sad because we're not giving any potential. We're not giving any possibility. We're not giving any opportunities to create something different. And so what would it look like if we created space for something to be different? Instead, maybe we respond with just something that's a little bit more warm or open. Like, hey, you know, just think about this. This is because this is the way that the first foot being planted starts out on the journey, determines the direction that we're going. And energy is so contagious, right? There is a phenomenon called emotional contagion. We've visited it before on the podcast, where emotions are transferred from one person to another unconsciously, right? And so we look towards the idea, what are we actually creating the possibility for? There's also something called mirror neurons, which are in our brain that are partially responsible for this equation of things that happen when we, start the conversation off maybe on the wrong foot, right? And mirror neurons mimic the emotions of others, right? It's the way we can even receive endorphins from watching something that we are used to participating in, but we're not the ones participating in it, like sports or dance or whatever it is that maybe you have frequented in your life, and watching it can ignite in you something. That's a mirror neuron. And in the same way, a simple interaction, like the way that we begin a phone call, is creating space. If emotions are contagious, choose to be the one spreading light. Because the truth is that the biggest energy, the one who has the most energy when someone walks into the room, is the energy that takes over. So in other words, it's not like a competition to have bigger energy, because like big love isn't really bouncing energy, if that makes sense. Oh man, it's just ever present. It's flowing and growing, and it's so awe-inspiring and beautiful, but it's big. It is big. And when someone walks into the room and there's a lot of love inside of them, that can be what takes over. In other words, it can help lift other people in the room. The same way, if you walk into the room and, somebody walks into the room and they're super excited, like, especially if you have space to go there, like, right? If you're emotionally healthy to be able to shift, and all of a sudden someone comes into the room and they're excited and you're like, woo, yes, what are we doing? What are you so excited about? Tell me, right? Like, we're so excited. And we can move into the energy of someone who's carrying a lot of energy. And so the idea might be to recognize what might be difficult to move into. The way that, moving into checking in on how you're doing. Like if I'm doing horrible, that might not be the right thing to talk about in a casual conversation, because we need to hold space for our people. Don't get me wrong. Like, we need to be able to know how they are and to be able to hold them and hold space for them and all of that business. But essentially, being aware that we can move into love. Like we can move into appreciation or gratitude. And if we can create a space to invite people who we might be interacting with when the relationship is sticky or when we know that another person is struggling, let's create a space where we can transform or maybe lift what they're feeling by the way that we are literally vibrating, like the frequency that we are sharing. I love the quote that says, holding on to your light when someone is in the dark is the most generous thing that you can do. And so just allowing that to permeate into your heart, because, you know, another really crazy fact in this world is that 1 out of every 4 to 5 people is experiencing a struggle with their mental health. So with that statistic, it's great for us to be aware, right? And then if you are the person who's also in the mud, in the struggle, like maybe try to be in a space where you're like, hey, and your voice changes. Like start offering that there can be a different way of interacting and existing by the word that you say, the first word that you say when you call someone on the phone. What we lay forth as a possibility, it's kind of like, have you ever started a day and just said, it's going to be a good day? Today's going to be a good day. Or have you listened to that song? I love that song so much. It's going to be a good day. Okay, like nobody wants to hear me sing. But I would love to just give you an insight to the song I'm talking about, right? Such a great song, talking about how really the only thing it really talks about is we're going to have a good day. And when we make that declaration at the beginning of the day, magic happens. It's the same way that when we make a declaration at the beginning of a phone call, magic can happen. We can, even if we create a small shift, like in other words, we help someone else level up their vibration just a smidge, that's magic. In case you don't know, that's magic. That's good stuff. And so overall, the message that I really just wanted to convey today is the idea that we can hold compassion for someone else's energy without sinking into it. Think of it like your emotional state is not a mirror. It's a thermostat. Set it, don't reflect it. Be the creator. Be the one that's going to make a difference. Viktor Frankl said, between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. So think of it in a way, like don't join the chaos. Invite people into your calm or invite someone into your love. Already pretend that you're creating the future with your hello, with your greeting. Ask yourself before you answer that phone, what is the space that you want to move into? Even create an affirmation, right? Like around if you are having a hard time answering the phone with someone that you are in a struggle with, or you know that they are in a struggle. Maybe lead with the intention. I am love. I am light. I will hold space, not sink in. I am awake, so I will be the one. I will be the one to hold love in my heart and an opportunity in my voice. And when you do that, already the vibrational energy shifts. And your voice sounds different. And it can carry healing in the very tone of your voice. I hope that you can see that in the way that you answer the phone, you have more power than you think you do. I hope you loved today's episode, and I hope that the thoughts that were shared helped you think more about even different circumstances in your life, more than just answering the phone. If this episode lifted you, made you think, or just made you feel seen, would you take a moment to leave a 5-star review? It helps others find the show, and it means the world to me. Thank you so much. And before we go, I want to share with you a quote from T. Harv Eker. He says, energy is contagious. Either you affect people or you infect people. Until next time, my friend.